This is WFO Radio.
Well, it is 2021 and WFO is back. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Castello, and I know what you're thinking. You're saying to yourself, it's Tuesday, but it's not 1 o'clock. It's 12 noon Eastern time, and we are getting started with WFO. What's up? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. We're just going an hour early today. We'll try to build the audience, and who knows, maybe this will become like the start of something new and fresh and exciting. What will be the same is the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, will be joining us just seconds from now, and we're going to dive into the world of drag racing. A lot of news in the NHRA. And I'm sure Alan's got news from the holidays, and I've got news from the holidays, and it was great. Hopefully everybody is feeling good and relaxed and ready and excited for 2021. Gator Nationals right around the corner, a couple months away, but the start of the season. Now, some things have changed and some have remained the same. For instance, WFO is brought to you by folks like Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. But what I think is kind of cool is that the folks at Total Seal are part of and supporting the Engine Performance Expo, which is going to be kind of an online engine builder symposium. And you're going to be able to go on there and register to view interviews and discussions and question and answer sessions from folks like John Kazi and Ed Pink and many others going to be getting together in Johnson City, Tennessee, and virtually around the world. EnginePerformanceExpo.com. Folks at Total Seal and Dart and others are putting it together. I will be there. I will be part of it. So if you're a fan of WFO, you're going to learn a lot. It's going to be deep engine building and theory and all of those things. Thanks to the folks at Total Seal for the invite. And definitely, if you're building an engine, high-performance racing engine, use their rings. Simple as that. Also, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodak, hot sauces and spice rubs and everything good. Man, my holidays were great thanks to Marvin Rodak. Marvin sends me like this amazing Rodak smoked cheese. It was just incredible. Now, I did put on a couple of LBs, as I know you all have, fatty. But the fact is that it's worth it, right? And that's why you drink the caffeinated, the fantastic Rodak's coffee. 817-924-6821. And Rodak's doing a little sponsorship with the folks at Funny Car Chaos. I'll give you the results of the Rodak's Custom Coffee A Field results from Alamo City Motorplex a little bit later on in the show. Also, the folks at samtech.edu, big supporters of WFO Radio. Start your education at full speed. Can't wait to talk Samtech in 2021. And of course, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Signing up folks for the Dragster Adventure and licensing courses throughout. They've got amazing students like Tony Stewart going through their school. Perhaps you would like to as well. You don't have to do what Tony did, but you can definitely go on the Dragster Adventure and have a whole lot of fun. That's frankhawley.com, plus folks at Nitrofish rocking our WFO radio gear. Hello and welcome to everybody out there. Share the show, fire it up, send a letter. But now it's time to connect with someone you know already for the first time in 2021 from parts unknown, Mr. Alan Reinhart. What's up, Alan? Happy New Year.
Hey, Joe. Happy New Year to you. And thank you for making the adjustment for me. I've got a conflict today that something else I could have to do that couldn't move. And I certainly didn't want to miss out on the first show of the year. So a very sincere thank you, sir, for rescheduling for me.
Well, not only that, but that's the flexibility of the platform, right? Like we try it at 12 noon. And what if it's like a runaway success? That's the thing you got to worry about. Like if the numbers
got to get up early.
Well, if the numbers are incredibly higher than the 1 o'clock time, which they won't be, don't worry. We would do it permanent, but no, this is no big deal. This gives us an hour a little bit later on in the afternoon. So how are you doing? Before we get to NHRA stuff, let's talk Alan Reinhart stuff. How was Christmas and the Scotch tasting and the week between Christmas and New Year?
Everything was good. Everything was good. There was a little bit of a light turnout for my Christmas Scotch tasting, but that's okay. I kind of expected it. There are a lot of people that are still not very comfortable being out and about. And certainly there were a lot of people that weren't as out and about. And, with me being the rest stop, if somebody's not taking a trip, they're not going to be at the rest stop. But it was a nice day. I had some friends stop by. I actually had one guy stop by I hadn't seen in about 4 or 5 years. That used to be a regular and then just kind of fell out of favor, but ended up getting tied up with other things. But no, it was, and Christmas was a good day. The week was relatively quiet, typical week at my shop, just finding ways to keep busy and doing stuff. New Year's was very quiet. I welcomed the new year.
Yeah.
I go into bed about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, I think, and then woke up the next morning and went, oh, look, and I watched this 21. So it was good, though. I got nothing to complain about, just a very nice, quiet week around the house and around the shop. The weather's been nice in Arizona, so I've been able to spend a little time on the motorcycle, and I have no complaints. But I'm ready to go racing.
Yes.
Right now, today, as soon as we can make it happen, let's go.
Absolutely. Everyone checking in. Rick and Barstow, Derek out there. Derek, who sent me an email. He's a big listener from Texas right before our Ignition show last night, and he's going through some issues related to the pandemic. There, obviously, Derek, get well to you. Ralph has finally got his WFO masks. Kev across the pond. Hey, Joe and Alan, just watching our PM announcing another prime minister. That's what that is. COVID lockdown. At least we've got WFO mask. Yeah, I hear the UK going back into harsh lockdown. Jeff Reich, 2021. Go WFO. Jeff Shockey out there. Happy New Year. Jim is out there. Hey, kids. Derek, of course. What is that? Hopefully we fixed Alan's do not disturb wink. No, we haven't, Derek. We haven't fixed it just yet, but we'll get it. That's the goal. That's
we're not using it this week, so not going to be a problem this week. But and is that Derek that sent me the directions and the?
Yes.
Yeah, I went through all of that. My phone is set like it is apparently supposed to be, so it's still like he disagreed with me. And Joe, you don't have to side with me just because we work together, we know each other, and I want you to be honest here, okay?
Yeah.
Because Derek doesn't believe me. He disagreed with me. He told me I was wrong, and so I just want you to be honest.
Okay, I'm ready.
I told him that I believe the problem is that I'm a moron when it comes to computers.
I got to go with you on this one, Alan. Simple as that. I got to go with you on this one.
Joe has witnessed one or two of my and then when somebody else comes over and goes, well, here, just turn this on and it'll be fine. Yeah. So
it's real. It's real, folks. He jokes about it, but it's real. Like that, what you just said, it's real. But then again, I've also witnessed Lewis spill a coffee into your computer and you took it like butter, super smooth. So it all depends on how it all goes. Chris Garrettson out there saying what's up. He says that you're not in Arizona. I don't know if that's true or not true, but Travis, let's go.
Hotel room. How can you tell where I am?
It could be down the street. It could be a disguise, Garrettson. Come on. Then again, this guy's got Blind Squirrel Racing, so what does he know? We want Reinhart back for interviews. I don't know, man. I like doing interviews. Hey, guys, can't wait to see you at the Gator Nationals. Everybody saying what's up. So it's good. We have successfully created an audience here at 12 noon on Tuesday. And, of course, the podcast, which everybody listens to after the fact on their own time. I worked on my golf cart. I've had a golf cart that has been lying dormant in my race car trailer. My New Year's resolution is to get the race car going. Right. But there are all these things connected to it. Like you can't have a stalled out golf cart in the race car trailer blocking everything you're trying to do. So it's like phase 1, get the golf cart going. Phase 1 complete. Golf cart fires up. I had to wait like 8 months for a carburetor, but I got it. And now all is well. And so that's I got a couple of New Year's resolutions, stay fit, stay healthy, all that, but get the race car going is one of my prime ones. And other than that, low key down here as well, the rest of South Florida all went out and they all partied and it was crazy and very unhealthy and very bad. But what are you going to do? Palm Beach had a big race, 600 cars at the New Year's Nationals. They streamed that. Comp Plus actually put it up. Pretty cool. Some of my friends did pretty well out there. But bottom line, I'm ready to go racing as well, Alan. But thinking about Gainesville, March 11th through 14th, still got a long way to go. And some big stories to talk about, drag racing related. But I want to start off with Tom Patsis and Cold Hard Art, because, we have had Tom Patsis artwork as our WFO Radio Fantasy League trophy for many years. And now this guy is an international superstar, super artist. And that trophy there was created by his hands, as far as I know. What a great story. Making the trophy for Alex Smith out of his former leg brace. His leg was broken in like 58 spots. They took the brace. He made a replica style of the Vince Lombardi trophy. And boy, is Tom and coldhardart.com getting a lot of pub.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually spoke to him about that the other day. And Tom he's just a really good guy. He's, very talented and very artistic. And for anybody who may not know, Tom spent some time working on Angel's Pro Stock motorcycle team for a while, spent some time working in the Don Schumacher fab shop. He is a very accomplished welder and fabricator. And he has always been an artist. He's always had kind of an artistic side, started doing the art stuff just kind of as a lark, after work and hanging out and welding old junk together and trying to make something out of it, and has turned it into a business. But my understanding, and, he's done some interviews, I'm sure he's told the story, but Alex's wife, Elizabeth, actually reached out to him and said, "Hey, do you think we can do something?" And he said, "Yeah, send me the stuff and I'll see what I can do." But it's been, blasted around. Just the guy's amazing. He literally can look at a pile of junk and go, "Well, if I put this here, put that over here, do this, and we can really turn it into something." And he's done some pretty spectacular stuff, including, by the way, the Camping World Championship trophies that all of our racers got in the Pro Series this year. Tom is the one that put those together as well. He's got himself a shop in Indy now, and he's so well known and well connected with the race teams that literally, when guys have throwaway parts, stuff that used to go in the recycle bin, they'll just call Tom and say, "Hey, you want this or something you can do with it?" And so he's got quite a stock of race car things in his shop that he can just do whatever he wants with.
Which is amazing. And I saw the story going around and I was super happy for Tom, but also for me as someone who has some of his featured artwork. And every year our fantasy league, or it's a NASCAR fantasy league, folks, but our fantasy league champion gets their name on the trophy. This trophy is made of parts from DSR Nitro cars, Hendrick Motorsports cars, and Penske Racing cars. This is what Tom told me, and of course I believe him, right?
Sure.
I think it is just fantastic. It is available for sale to anyone. No, I'm kidding about
you're like a guy who bought a painting on the corner from some guy named Picasso before anybody knew what he was, and then now it's like, that's a Picasso. And but no, that's cool. I mean, you can speak to it because it's right there behind you. His ability of putting stuff together and his eye for, hey, this would look cool, and this makes it all happen.
Well, the word genius, these artistic geniuses, like, you have creativity in you. I know you do with different things. Having the shop, wanting to have a shop means that you've got something in you that you want to like do and build and make. And then you see a guy like Tom who takes a spoon and goes, and now it's like a bouquet of roses. And it's like, you love and respect him, but maybe want to punch him in the stomach once just for fun, because like, where is it coming from, man? He's a genius. That's what it is.
No, I've always liked Tom. He is part of my Twisted Sense of Humor club. And, there's a dozen of us or so out there that just really like, kind of twisted off the beaten path jokes. And he's one of those. And so he and I have kind of always clicked. And no, it's when you get to Indy sometime, you just need to wander over to a shop, or maybe have him on the show and have him show you around the shop. But the things that he has that guys, because he's well known and well respected and well liked in the industry, a lot of stuff that used to just go into the scrap heap or into the recycle bin, they'll call Tom and say, "Hey, would you like to have this?" And hanging on the wall of his shop is half of the Make-A-Wish funny car, the body that blew, I believe the one that got split in half and burned in Phoenix. It's junk, right? Who could do anything with it? Well, Tom could. And so it's a simple, hey, would you like to have this? Can you do something with it? And someday I'm sure that he will. But it's fascinating to walk around and go, ooh, hey, is that a camshaft out of a diesel? Hey, are those rods out of a Duramax? It's ridiculous. It's the stuff that he's got in the shop because he's going to make something out of it.
It's great stuff. And yes, I would like to spend some time in Indy at some point, not on U.S. Nationals Race Week, just so to bounce around and see more of the shops. I've been able to see a few of them, certainly the majors, but it's just crazy to have this community, a tightly wrapped drag racing community, racing in general, but drag racing community on a couple of blocks. Everybody in there, great stuff. Other news from the break, some things that broke through, and maybe I miss a story here or there, but the Mike Green to Justin Ashley story, to me, was surprising. That is a great get for Justin. Goes out, gets his first one. Aaron Brooks, I thought Aaron Brooks was doing a great job, did a great job. I love Aaron Brooks, but to bring on Mike Green, like, wow, that's a big get for a young man, and tells me he's no flash in the pan or an operation that's going to be around for a little while and then disappear.
Yeah, that surprised me a little bit too when I heard the news. And for exactly what you said, Aaron came in when they were getting the team started up and getting the thing rolling along. And I did a fantastic job. They qualified well, they ran well, they won one of the races out in Indy when we were running the Indy Championship Series earlier this year. And I don't know what that parting was all about. I just have no idea. But the one thing, and I sometimes look at things a little bit differently, but the one thing with Mike Green going over there, the first thing I thought is that obviously means that Tony Schumacher wasn't able to put something together. I'm sure heard Don at the end of last season talking, very positively about things that were happening and meetings that were taking place and things, and that, felt pretty confident that, their team would be back and potentially even expanded and have Tony back full time. But, as soon as they said that Mike was going to go over there, I think that, if ever there was they don't have anything lined up for Tony right now, because they certainly wouldn't have split that pairing up if they didn't have to. So hate it for Tony. Love it for Ashley, but we'll see what happens with Aaron. He's a guy that has always helped a lot of people and lended his expertise. Believe me, he's certainly not going to be sitting home twiddling his thumbs. He's still got some other teams he works with and helps, and I think that if anything, the time that he spent with Justin Ashley's team just made his stock go up. You look at coming in there, a brand new team, new group, making the car run like it did, winning a race, and he'll have as much work as he needs. I promise you.
Yeah, you see a guy like Aaron, and I've got to know him, just a little bit, and he's quiet, right? Like there's a lot going on. He's quiet, but there's a whole lot going on, and then you realize how much he's helping people behind the scenes, and working with some of the smaller teams off hours, and all of that. Gets this opportunity, goes out, gets a win. He will have a job. If he doesn't, there will be a problem. And you mentioned, teams getting deals and not getting deals. As much as there is light at the end of the tunnel for the pandemic and vaccines and all of that stuff, you read stories everywhere that the business of motorsport, this is still an issue. Like, Mercedes is fighting Lewis Hamilton on his contract, and their number one reason is, the pandemic. It's going to be tough sledding for a while, and we're going to see like who can put together programs as best as they can, and we're just going to have to deal with whatever it is.
Well, the old axiom has always been, when times are good, you should advertise, and when times are tough, you have to. And you come into a situation like now that I think, no question, advertising is needed for companies. You need people to know that, hey, we're still here, we're still doing business, we've got stuff going on. But the other side of that is simply that, people aren't spending a lot of money. When you think about, and Joe, I don't know what your personal situation is, but miles driven. Okay. If you're in the gas business, if you're in the oil business, if you're in the tire business, there are a lot less miles being driven. And therefore, people aren't buying as many tires, they're not getting as many oil changes. They're not, simply because they're not driving their cars as much. So you have to weigh businesses down some because of the pandemic, because people just aren't doing their normal things. Well, that might mean that you need to get out there and make sure that you get the business that is. You know what I mean? If there's $1,000 being spent and everybody's getting $100 of it, okay, right? Times are good. We roll along. Well, when all of a sudden maybe there's only $600 being spent, it's time to get out there and advertise, so you make sure that your share doesn't fall off as much. And motorsports obviously is a good way to do that, but it's a tough decision to make. And a lot of companies are just looking at just everything. Sometimes it's just a difficult time right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a difficult time right now. And I think about World War II and things that are just like, you want them to go away, but they are here. And that's just it. You got to deal with it. And that's what we're dealing with right now, hopefully, though. And I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling optimistic about, coming out of it and the good news stories that are coming down the line. Interesting stuff.
Let me just throw this in because I heard it this morning. I was listening to NASCAR radio earlier this morning on XM. Phoenix Raceway just announced that they are going to have fans for their NASCAR race. That I think would be good news for the NHRA race, because Arizona, Phoenix in particular, has been fairly restricted as of late. But the NASCAR guys are going to be there in March. We're not planning to be there until I believe April, when we are going to make the Western Swing is what's on the schedule right now. So the fact that Phoenix Raceway has announced that they're going to have limited capacity, but they are going to be able to put fans in the stands and have a campground open, and I hope that bodes well for Wild Horse Pass as well when NHRA comes to town about a month later.
Isn't it funny that, thinking of everything in the context of the health of the drag racing, and like, will we be able to go to a race, and I was feeling it last night, seeing the news stories of people on the beaches and in the nightclubs here in South Florida. A lot of people came down for vacation, and, were they in full compliance? No, they were not. And I thought, man, March is 2 months away. How healthy can we get in 2 months, and why? Well, I want to go racing, man. I want to be at the racetrack. I want to be there with a crowd. I want to be there with as big a crowd as is possible and feel good about it. I want to see my friends. I want to give friends a hug. Like, these are the things that wait for us in the future. I know we're going to get there, and I'm going to appreciate them so much. We're just not there yet. And it's just a matter of doing the right thing to get there.
Well, and that's, anything that I think is a step in the right direction. I think one thing that NHRA did very, very well last year is follow the protocols wherever we were. We were allowed different things in Indy than we were in Texas, than we were in Vegas. And everywhere we went, we followed the protocols. I don't believe, or at least I haven't heard any stories about, people went to the NHRA race and everybody went home because social distancing, because of the wellness checks every morning, because of the protocols that were in place, obviously the announcements that were made at the racetrack, the hand sanitizing stations, and on and on and on, the contactless ticketing and everything that they could do. So I hope that bodes well when we go forward, even if there are some issues that maybe they're still looking at, or that the local health officials aren't comfortable with. I hope they would take a look at NHRA's track record and say, hey, look, last year, these guys went out, they did what they were supposed to do, they followed the rules, they had their events, and I hope that will bode well for us in the future.
That's
I think
it.
if it comes down to, it's like somebody's on the fence, and I think that NHRA can pretty proudly point to 2020 and say, this is what we did before. We are in compliance with whatever the local protocols are. We are looking out for our fans and our competitors and our officials, and we would like to have an event. And I hope that'll tip the scales in the direction.
I agree. Other news, you've been talking about this for a while, like when and if and when, and you knew it would happen, and it looks like it's going to happen here for 10 races in 2021. Bob Bodie going to give up the seat to Bobby, who is just 18 years old. That's I don't like it because I like Bob Bodie. I like it because fresh young faces in the sport of drag racing are good. And so I'm excited about that.
No, I am too. I think that, it'll be good to have another good, nice looking, well-spoken young man that's, coming out in our sport. And, hopefully that he will have some on-track success. His dad certainly had his share over the years. And, it's all good. So everybody talks about, the graying, and it's interesting to me because I talk to people that, well, back in the 70s, we did it like this, or back in the 80s, it was way better than it was now. No, it wasn't. You're looking at it with rose-colored glasses. Could you go to events where there were 80 top fuel cars? Yes. Could you go to watch fuel cars run at your local track on a race? Sure. Were they anywhere near as competitive, as fast? Were the shows run as well? Was the safety standard as well as high as it is now? The cleanup operations, everything about it is, these are the good old days. And those same guys talk about the fact that, just look around. Everybody in the place has got gray hair. No, they don't.
Yeah, that's not.
And the new generation that's coming along is good. There is no downside whatsoever to having new, young, fresh faces come in and fill the seats of some of those cars. I think Justin Ashley's a perfect example of that, right? His dad came out, his dad was successful, his dad raced, and his dad certainly isn't old and gray by any means. But the next generation is coming along. Bob Bodie has not been like a full-time points chasing guy, But when he came out, he was certainly a force to be reckoned with. Won the race in Brainerd a few years ago, and now he's just decided, okay, it's time for my son to take over, and I think that's good. I think we will continue to see a youth movement. I think it'll go on forever. There was a time when I was the young punk coming in and joining the announcing staff and being out there, and now everybody looks at me like I'm a dinosaur, and it just continues and continues, and classic circle of life. So good for Bobby. Look forward to seeing him on the racetrack, and hope he has some great success.
Yes. And, we talked a little bit before the show started. Snake's book, Don Prudhomme, My Life Beyond 1320. I highly recommend it. A lot of people have been getting it on Amazon through our WFO radio store on the website. Of course, you can go to Snake Racing as well. I've been spending a fair amount of time reading the book. I'm 3/4 of the way through it. And it's funny because I took a break, like 3 nights in a row. I just burned through the book. And then I said to myself, man, slow down, because it's going to be over. Like once it's over, it's over. I guess I could read it again, but I'm learning a lot. I really like it. But what you just said, I haven't read a whole lot of drag racing books. I'm a here and now kind of guy. I love hearing people talk about history and have wonderful access to people on this show and can actually, chat it up with them in places. And I like it, but I also really enjoy the here and now and the future and all of that. I felt like I had a pretty good knowledge, but he goes into extreme detail about what you were just talking about, like those early days and what they were. And it was barely a sport, right? Whereas now it's a sport / business. It's so refined. And Snake in his book talks about the transitional period from what it was, where it was, guys, and they wouldn't pull the heads off. They would go track to track. They wouldn't pull the cylinder heads off. They'd take the plugs. They'd look around. They'd buy the engine from Keith Black. Black would tune it. They would make some adjustments, but really, it was up to his ear and the feel. And they would go out there, and other guys were blowing stuff up, and he wasn't because of talent. But then computers came in, and that transition. He talks a lot about that, and that's life. That's the world. There are people doing this. Oh, they like it. There's money in it. More people are going to come. More people are going to get involved. It's going to cost more. It's going to take more. You're going to have to invest more. That's the way everything is. At one point in the NFL, they were out there pushing each other around. They were wearing leather caps. Whoever won the Super Bowl, is the Super Bowl even going to take off? Now it's billions of dollars of industry. Just the way it is. And it's a really good illustration when you get to the book, and I know you will. I think you're really going to like it because Snake spends a lot of time on that era and the transition.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have not started reading it yet, but usually my reading takes place on airplanes, and since I haven't been doing quite as much traveling, but no, I am definitely looking forward to getting my hands on that and reading it because I started going to the races in the 1970s as a spectator. And, we had Tucson Dragway, not the one that's there now, the one that actually closed in 1985, was a track that held a national event, an AHRA national event. The internationals would come every time. And, I was a little kid going out to the races, with great big eyes, and wow, the cars were awesome and stuff. But I've been around long enough now, and I think that I have enough perspective now that, you look back at those days and the way it was and what was. And it's just better now. It certainly is better now. And it just, things change, things develop, When I started going to the NHRA races, we never, ever left the track on Sunday night after the race before 9:30 or 10 o'clock. When's the last time we were there after 6?
Oh, man.
In the last 10 years.
Sunday nights are my favorite nights. You go, you hang out, you hit a restaurant, you enjoy, you unwind. There's all kinds of great stuff going on.
That's one of the things that changed and had to change for the sport because you wanted to make it more mainstream. People always talk about, back in my day, the grandstands were full. Sure they were. I think the grandstands at Tucson Dragway probably seated, 5,000 people, maybe.
Maybe.
They were full.
Yeah.
They were full. But in order to get the more casual fan out, and that's what any sport has to do to survive, You have to get more casual fan out. You can't tell a fan you need to be at the event at 8 o'clock in the morning and you won't leave until 10 o'clock at night, especially when the show you're coming to see we watched this. Wow, that was really cool. Okay, well, come back in 2.5 or 3 hours and see round two. That just wouldn't fly anymore. And so, NHRA has adapted. The race teams have adapted. Everything is adapted to make it more user friendly. If you tell somebody, hey, we want you to come out and spend a day at the event, can you imagine telling somebody that, in the football game, they're going to take an hour break between quarters?
Yeah. No, I cannot. I think people would
be there in the third quarter. Nobody. And so things have to evolve. Things have to change. And, NHRA has done, I think, a good job with that. They've certainly done a good job with safety when you consider how much faster the cars are going now. And when I talk to some of the guys that, back in 1968, we used to go down and do that. I go, okay, yeah, that's great. You have, 50 dragsters come out for a 32-car qualified show on Friday night. And today's top dragster would be your number one qualifier.
Absolutely.
And so if that's what you want to go back to, I'm not interested. I would rather see the cars that we have today. Even if I don't have as many of them, the quality of them is top notch. And I'd rather see, I think the NHRA puts on a great show. I think the bang for this buck is second to absolutely none, especially with the open pits. We've had the conversation how many times? What do you pay for a football ticket in the NFL? What do you pay for a Major League Baseball ticket? Now, do you get to go down and hang out in the dugout and get autographs? In an NHRA race, you do, even though, we've got our social distancing and stuff now, but we still have the pits open and the fans are still allowed to get access that you can't get anywhere else. And in order to do that, things have to evolve, things have to change. They have, and they will continue.
Well, you can't fight progress. You cannot. It's just the way of the world. You cannot fight progress. Like with the computers coming in, Snake talks about how he tried to stop it. Frankly, he's like, I tried to pull a Garlitz and stop it. It's like, you just can't. There's some things you can't. Oh, a lot of great insights in the book, but I'm not going to ruin them for you. A couple of questions coming in on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, et cetera, and so on. But I do want to talk about a couple of more news stories and then we'll get to it. Larry Dixon, the International Motorsports Hall of Fame in Daytona. Larry Dixon, track racer, getting inducted. Good for Larry.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. You look at what he's done, the fact that he grew up in sport, going to the races with his dad, been around it his whole life, came up as a crew guy, and then, ended up driving for the Snake and having all the success and 3 championships. And when he retired, he was either the first or the second winningest driver in Top Fuel. Tony Schumacher obviously is now, but just all that he's done in the sport and the fact that he's not done in the sport. He still has his 2-seat dragster, and I think that he's still, if the right fit came along, that he could climb back in a car and still get it done. But I think it's great. I think it's Larry and I have known each other all the way back to the days when he was a crew guy, and I actually sent him a congratulatory text the other day, and I told him, because when I'm in India, I always stop by his shop. He's usually not there, and so I told him, I said, I feel so special that now, instead of being dissed by a former Top Fuel racer, I'm going to be dissed by a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
I think that, my status has gone up as well there. But no, I think it's great for Larry, all that he did on the track. And he certainly, again, came into the sport as a young, good-looking, well-spoken guy that, understood, knew what he needed to do, knew how to take care of sponsors, knew how to take care of fans, and now he's going into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Larry. That's
awesome. All right, getting a lot of questions about John Force Racing, JFR. And I haven't heard anything, honestly. Maybe you have. But
you didn't see his video Christmas card?
No, I saw some still photographs in front of the tree, but I did not see the video Christmas card.
There was a video Christmas card that was made where John, Robert, Brittany, and Austin Prock all said, hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. See you at the racetrack in 21.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Well, the ebb and flow of like the media rollout, right? Like there's a rollout, people. And so they're going to be rolling out their information as people, there's still a little bit of a New Year hangover going on. As soon as the time is right, that's something that John always does, is know how to control the flow of media. And it's, some things can get lost. Sometimes it's a good idea to put out a piece of information when nobody else is, but John is not that guy. And there will be a rollout of all the information, and I'm excited to see it. But thank you for breaking that news. I saw a lot of still photos. I saw a lot of Courtney. I saw the last one. I saw Brittany with a cardboard cutout of Leonardo DiCaprio, I believe. But the bottom line is, I'm excited to see them all back at the racetrack, especially Austin.
Yeah, I am as well. And you shouldn't have too much trouble finding that if you look for it. I mean, they put it out through the John Ford social media channels, and if John, Robert, Brittany, and Austin Prock are all on videotape saying, "Hey, everybody, Merry Christmas, we'll see you next year," then I'm taking that as they've got big plans, and I sure hope they do. I want to see them back out there just as much as all the fans and everybody else does.
Absolutely, and they better not be like Grand Marshal, because we'll be mad. Evan Bader, track manager, Norwalk. Speaking of the Bob Bodie story, it's true. Like, I was thinking, as I was listening to you talk about Bob Bodie, and I was thinking about it in this context. Bob Bodie is a very successful businessman who loves drag racing and has decided that he can fit 10 races. He wants to do 10 races a year or so, and he made it work. The kid, on the other hand, is 18 years old, and he's going to get in that car, and he's going to love it, and he's going to want to drive it as many as is possible. And he's going to go out and try to build the program even more, and maybe they will run more races next year, the following year. That's the point, is that Bob figured out something that he was comfortable, and the kid may come along and push things forward. And when I think about what happened at Norwalk and the next generation coming along, like, sometimes the next generation ruins it, that we know that story too, right? But I know I've seen Evan Bader enough to know that I think this kid is going to do great things.
Yeah, his grandfather and his father, and he's come along and able to learn. And one of the things that I think that the Baders, everybody talks about, from a track standpoint, the Baders and the Vandermeers, both family operations that both put the spectator first. Our customer is the person that buys a ticket. That's the person we have to take care of. That's the person that we have to focus on. And the one thing I think that I've seen, the limited amount of time that we've been going to Norwalk, which amazingly enough is now 11 years or 12 years, something like that. But Evan, I believe, has done everything. I think he's done everything, literally, from being the guy at the gate to being the guy cleaning the bathrooms to being the guy working in the ice cream shop. That was two completely separate days. To being the announcer, to being the track prep guy. I think that he came in and has learned the business from the ground up, and obviously he's the next generation. So, congratulations to him. I look forward to going back and visiting his track for many, many more years. And the guy gets it. He understands how to put on a show. He understands how to take care of your customers, your fans, and he's a pretty darn good mic holder too. So
yes, I spent some mic time my first or second year at Norwalk, and we sat together on the mic for a while. It's like, man, kid knows his stuff. He's got. And it's the family business. Like, you can feel that he's got a love for it. And we had this big race down here in South Florida, 600 cars. And, like, outside promoter did the race, and the local racers all chattering about, what it would be like to have people who loved the sport as much as they did. And that's what you see at all the great tracks. You see people who love the sport, who love the racers, who go the extra mile, who live their lives for that. And that's what he is. So I wish him great luck, and I cannot wait. Now, I know you're short on time, so I don't want to take you too long. There's one question this guy has. I want to put it up. It's not an easy question. We can maybe wrap up with this so you can get to your appointment. But Robert just says, we're talking about the old days, the new days. While I agree that the fields are competitive, has gotten so expensive that there are very few that can compete as an independent. How can this be fixed? So just take a second to solve that problem, Alan.
Yeah, sure. You could start with, telling Don and Connie and John and the Capco guys, just quit spending money. That's in the history of motorsports. The racer has always determined the price of admission. And as long as I've been around, and it was way, way back before me, if you tell somebody $25 to the winner, somebody is willing to spend $100 to go win that $25 every week. And then you either have to spend $100 to keep up with him, or you have to get run over by him every week. And then when you get 20 guys that are all spending $100 and then $150 and then $200, then they all start clamoring about the fact that, well, this is just getting way out of hand. Somebody needs to do something. You knew you were racing for $25 when you started. You're the ones that decided to do this. You're the ones that decided to go spend the money. And there is no way that I know of to stop people from spending money. If somebody wants to go spend that money, I don't know how to stop them. I've heard a lot of people talk about, okay, well, let's say this was a one that was kicked around a lot. One engine on race day, okay? That's what you got to do. One engine on race day.
Right.
One engine on race day. That'll save everybody money. You know what happens if you have one engine on race day? You have to roll into the racetrack with a complete machine shop, so that if you have to weld that block and machine that block and put that block back together, you can. So now you haven't saved anybody any money. And you also have moved your safety standard out a bit, because would you rather cobble together, patch this thing together and go, okay, I hope it'll hold on for 3, or would you rather put a new one in that you know is going to be good to go? So there's that. Dale Armstrong, a number of years ago, did an experiment where they had a low compression and a low blower overdrive. And he went out one of the Texas tracks, either Dallas or Houston, I believe, and made like 4 runs in a row where the car quarter mile days was going like 485 at 302 or 303 miles an hour. Made 4 or 5 runs, never heard a bearing, never heard a piston ring, never nothing. The car was, you could have basically poured gas in it and taken it back out there. And everybody said, that's it. All we got to do is listen to him. That's what we got to do. And that's the ticket. Except he wasn't racing anybody. Anybody right now can go out there and make, if you told the Torrance team, I need you to go out there and make 4 runs and never take the heads off the car, that's your only requirement. Make 4 runs and never take the heads off the car. They can do that. But if you're racing somebody, it's a completely different mentality. One of the things that we did last year, and when I say we, I'm speaking of the sport, not that I had anything to do with it, was cutting down on the travel, cutting down on the number of runs that were made. That saved everybody a substantial amount of money. The NASCAR guys, when they went to the one-day shows, saved a ton of money strictly by not having a backup car. I remember when I went through Furniture Row, I was talking to the guys up in Colorado. They've got a car that they were cutting the body off of. And they told me at the time that, okay, let's say you're racing wherever you're going. Okay, you're going Phoenix one weekend, you're going Texas the next weekend, or Las Vegas the next weekend. Okay, so you got a backup car in the trailer that's ready for Phoenix. It never came out of the trailer. They never touched it. They never used it. They didn't need it. It was fine. It came back to the shop. The first thing they did? Cut the body off of it and put a new body on it, because the next time they were going to take a backup car someplace, they were going to take it to Texas, and it was different. And all that ridiculous expense, because you had to, just in case you crashed in practice, you had to have that car. You had to spend all that time and money. Well, when you go to the race and go, okay, no practice, no qualifying, throw the green and go, all of a sudden you don't need a backup car. And that saved them a fortune. So, that's one thing, that NHRA did last year that has cut down some of the expense, is just exactly that, cutting down the number of runs that you make. But there is no way that I know of to stop somebody from spending money if they want to spend it. And you always run into the classic law of unintended consequences. You go, okay, well, if we just do this, everything will be okay. But then you realize you've created this whole other line of problems that's coming up.
Right. Well, Formula One is a great place to look. They were spending, $400 million a year, and they have cut it down, but okay, you can only have X amount of engines and you can have X amount of transmissions, but the cost per engine and transmission went up through the roof because, okay, we can design it to last 4 races, but it's going to take super materials. It's going to take extreme engineering, and maybe it will pay dividends down the road at some point. I think you just got to, think about it. You got to try 3 qualifying sessions as opposed to 4. There's a good example. But if you really want to do it, one of the quotes in Snake's book, which you've heard this a million times, he attributes it to Dan Gurney. He was sniffing around to try to get a road course drive, right? He was like, yeah, like, how do I get in one of those cars, Dan? And Dan's like, if you want to bad enough, you'll figure it out. And Snake's like, I guess I don't want to bad enough. And that's the deal. Like, if you're the privateer team and you really want to do this, you'll figure out a plan, you'll go out there and you'll do it. Now, I am all for trying to keep the cost as reasonable as is possible, but I still want the cars to be extreme. Like our great friend Sammy Eubanks is out there saying, how about one pump, one mag? Man, I don't want to change the cars. I don't like the idea of fans showing up at the race and feeling less.
If you go to one mag, what's going to happen initially is that you're going to crank so much timing in the thing that you've basically thrown away everybody's notebook. And yes, you could go to one magneto, but you're going to completely change your tune-up. You're going to throw everything away. And for everybody that talks about, well, you want to go back to quarter mile is a classic thing, because it's exponentially harder to go faster the faster you go. If you're going 100 miles an hour, you want to go 105 miles an hour, that's not a big deal. Pick up another 50, 60, 100 horsepower, no problem. If you're going 300 miles an hour, you want to go 305 miles an hour, you need another couple thousand horsepower. And in order to go back to the quarter mile right now, you wouldn't have to take 500 or 600 horsepower away. You'd have to take 5,000 horsepower away. And I don't know anybody that wants to do it. I certainly don't want to do that just to gain one more second of time on the racetrack. I don't want to go back 30 years, keeping it. Remember the first 300-mile-an-hour run?
Yes.
28 years ago. Do you really want to back up that far? Because if you just back up to where the cars go, okay, let's say maximum speed, instead of being 335 miles an hour, maximum speed is 320. How long is it going to be before they get back to 330 and 335? If you really want to turn the clock back, you're going to have to turn it back that far. And we're talking, my opinion, we're talking about taking away 4,000 or 5,000 horsepower. I don't want to do that. I like the cars the way they are now.
Well, exactly. And people don't realize the ultimate unintended, and Sammy says they'd figure it out. And I have no doubt that they would figure it out, but at what cost and at what expense and at how much time. But most importantly, the fan that walks in that we want, like, man, Johnny, you can't wait to see this nitro. It's going to be incredible. It's going to blow you away. Like, man, I can't wait to see it. And the first burnout, Johnny's like, and all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, no, they backed the cars down. It's way less now. You don't feel it as much. That shock you get. Oh no, yeah, remember back in the day when people still say that about 100% nitro. You still got guys like, yeah, back at 100% nitro. We don't want that. Anyway, what we do want is Alan to get to his appointment on time. Do you have a final thought or two?
Just one final thing as far as, the power level thing with the cars. You want to go back to 1,320 feet, or you want to bring the power down, you want to make it affordable, you want to make it interesting, take the blowers off.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Hey,
Megan Meyer went 5.0.
Yes.
That car has been 285 miles an hour, okay, without clutch management, and at 450 cubic inches or 440 cubic inches. So take a 500 cubic inch top fuel car, leave the management, leave everything on it exactly the same way, just take the blower off, and all of a sudden you've saved a lot of money and you can go back quarter mile racing tomorrow. Is that what you want?
No,
that's not what I want.
I don't. I mean, I'm at the track and I love fuel cars and alcohol cars, and I'm sitting there, and I know you do, and I look at the stands and like, where is everybody? If like that is it's a super thrilling thing. They're on a 280, and there's just a significant difference between the experience. It just is. Krista Baldwin just got out of one and got on the other and was like regular smile and Kool-Aid smile from one to the next. There's something going on there. Alan, thank you very much. I appreciate it. First one of the year, got it in the books. Thank you for taking the time, and
thank you for making the adjustment for me, too. I really do appreciate it, and I got a dash. Take care, everybody. Announcer at NHRA.com if you want to talk some more about, whatever. If you want to talk about the budget, or if you want to talk about slowing the cars down, if you want to just tell me I'm an idiot, or if you want to tell me how to fix this. No, don't waste your time with that.
No, we're going to get to
anyway,
that's
announcer at NHRA.com. I'm always there.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Have fun.
Thanks, Joe.
There he goes. NHRA's Alan Reinhart with us here on WFO Radio. Yeah, it's a never-ending conversation, but at some point, I think we need to move beyond. Like, there are certain conversations that can just become like circular, like just like you just work your way around the conversation and then you get back to the original point. and you're back there. Like, do we have to change the cars? I don't think so. I think that the product that is drag racing is as good as it's ever been. Accessibility is a challenge. You definitely want to have more people competing and more people who want to compete, who can afford to compete. That is a challenge, to take this big team and go. And again, it's not that I'm trying to get you to go to WFOradio.com and check out the WFO store, where we have put a whole bunch of Amazon products in there that are drag racing related, including Snake's book and the new Warren Johnson book that Kelly Wade has written, and she's going to be coming on the show in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully she knows that. And all of those things, some interesting household products as well. WFOradio.com, the WFO store, where you can get the Snake's book. But he talks about that whole troubling transition from what it was to what it is, from making a lot of money because he wasn't spending nearly as much money to not making nearly as much money because he was spending a whole lot of money. And in the year that he took off in 1985, I guess, 86 maybe, he had $100,000 that he was gonna, he spent the whole year. They had $100,000 saved up to not work, and they had like a year of like retirement kind of, and they had all this fun with the $100,000, man. And he's like, what could I have done with this $100,000? I think it's a couple sets of heads, couple of blocks, and $100,000 doesn't last a long time at the racetrack, but it lasts a long time out there in the world. And just little details about that. Ultimately, the evolution of drag racing to where we are now has been pretty good. In 2019, pre-pandemic, we had a great year with strong attendance. And like, what more do you want? Do you want to increase the capacity of the crowd by 20%? Honestly, I don't know whether it would be comfortable to be in that situation. Like, this is kind of what it is. Do you like it or do you not? I like it. Not only do I like it, I love it. Like, I see the people fighting. I see the young people. I mentioned Krista. I mentioned others. I think of Jordan Vandergriff when we're thinking about like young people and Austin Prock, when we think of young people who are working hard to have a future like their family members have in the past, they're all there. They know that it's good. They're not walking away. They're fighting to be there. It's loud, it's fast, it's entertaining. You look around at other stuff. I'm reading a story on Drag Illustrated earlier about a big fight on the set of Street Outlaws, and these guys, they've been ganged up and they're fighting. Man, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of effort going into that, right? For two cars going down a track and racing each other. And that's what we're doing. And it's just louder and it's faster and it's more amazing and it's a spectacle. I don't have any beef with any of it. We got a television contract where half of the races are going to be on the big Fox broadcast network. Half or a third. Amazing stuff going on. What do we need to do to fix drag racing? I'm gonna lay it out. I'm gonna lay it out for you. I'm gonna give it some time to simmer though, while we put in comments, and you guys get your comments in the comments section, and I tell you about a couple of things, and then I'm gonna tell you how we fix the sport of drag racing at the very conclusion. Remember, this is an hour early. Those of you who have never subscribed to our podcast, please do so. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or just go to WFOradio.com and check out the website. Click subscribe. There's a whole bunch of ways. People watching on YouTube, people watching on Twitter, people doing all that stuff. I'm definitely going to be hawking WFO Radio face coverings real soon. But right now, I want to tell you again about this thing that's going down beginning on Thursday, the Engine Performance Expo. It's a virtual event. Some of the best engine builders in the world. If you're interested in high performance engine building, the folks at Total Seal are one of the sponsors and have invited me to go and take part and be one of the hosts. And so I'm super excited about it. You do have to register. It's not just on a screen somewhere. You got to register so that they know everybody, obviously. But you're going to learn a lot. I know I'm going to learn a lot. So engineperformanceexpo.com. Go sign up, check it out. And it begins on Thursday morning. And like, who's going to be there? Like, well, guys like Ben Strader from EFI University and Brendan Melling, of course, Doug Yates, Chuck Lynch, who has been in and involved in, it's like from an engineering and mechanics standpoint, Ed Pink, Jim Gray from Bullet Racing Engines, of course, Keith and Lake from Total Seal, John Kazi, and others, even some rumors of maybe even a professor or two. So you definitely want to check that out, engineperformanceexpo.com. That is number one, and I'm super excited about that. Happy to be invited. And the folks at Total Seal, totalseal.com, really excited about Hidden Horsepower, the podcast. If you did not hear or listen or check out podcasts during the break, we dropped a couple of episodes, including the holiday episode, and then one with Chris Holbrook, where Chris Holbrook talked about his brand new project, where he breaks the news that he's going billet coyote in Pro Mod in the NMCA. They really want to see what's going on with it. And he lays out all the details to the build details. That's on Hidden Horsepower, totalseal.com. Let me get this off of there so you can see that. Yeah, there's rust. There's rust. Samtech.edu, Aaron Stanfield, final episode of the Factory Stock podcast from last year is up there. Brian Massengill and family for the future of engine building and machining. Go to samtech.edu. Marvin Rodak, rodaxcoffeeandgrills.com. What's funny is that Marvin has been a WFO sponsor for a long time. And if you have yet to try some Rodax coffee, you're really missing out. But it's not just the coffee. It's the hot sauces and the spice rubs and the grilling techniques and all of it. This guy's an award winner. He's been on TV shows about barbecuing. This guy is an ace, but he is also a drag racer, and he is the sponsor of the Rodax Custom Coffee A Field at Funny Car Chaos, where Funny Car Chaos just had their final race of the year at Alamo City Motorplex, where Ken Singleton won the race and won the championship over Alan Middendorf, who set a record out there. Now, Funny Car Chaos is kind of interesting because we're talking about drag racing. That's a new series, and Rodax is a big sponsor in the series of the A Field. Think about that. Doing such a great job, Marvin. But there's the A field and the B field, and you got alcohol funny cars running up against nitro funny cars, and they're doing it for the love and the fun. And it's great. It's exactly what everybody wants. You get to see some loud, fast cars, and everybody's coming in, and they're doing it for the right reasons. But notoriety, fame, money, the more that comes in, then more guys are going to come in with faster cars, and the guys with the slower cars are going to think like, oh, this isn't fun anymore. And that's the circle of motorsports life. Nancy Matter wins the B field out there at Alamo City. And so congratulations to Rodax on sponsoring a great program with Funny Car Chaos and Ken Singleton. And they got cool cars. They got nostalgia cars. They got alcohol funny cars. Like, where can a nostalgia funny car and an alcohol funny car and a nitro funny car all run each other? And, whatever happens. It's eighth mile. They're running low threes. It's pretty exciting stuff. Also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. The video by Smoke, Tony Stewart, and his team, production team, put together like award-winning quality. See Leah on there talking with Tony. Frank Hawley talking with Tony. That's one of the things that I'm maybe most excited about, to see the reaction, not to see Tony drive a nitro car. I know it's going to do it and it's going to be great. And he's going to love it, but to hear what the words are afterwards. Like, all right, you've driven a Formula One car, you've driven a stock car, you've driven a sprint car, you've driven a Top Fuel dragster. Go, lay it out. Just another car, another motorsports experience, or something more. Would you like to compete? Maybe you should do a nice 2 or 4. You try to qualify for the U.S. Nationals, Tony. Why not? Try to qualify for the U.S. Nationals in Indy. And that way you will have qualified for the Indy 500 and, the Brickyard 400 and the Daytona 500 and the U.S. Nationals. Like, who's done that? Those are interesting stats that can separate a guy like Tony Stewart from a guy like AJ Foyt, say, oh, wow, really? He did that. Just something to think about. And if you want to follow in those same footsteps, go to frankhawley.com. Dragster Adventure, drive a dragster, get the bug. Simple as that. WFO radio face coverings. Look, for $10, you can get one of the WFO radio face coverings. I always have it right here, and then I lose it right before the show. I don't know why, but I'll throw in a couple of WFO radio stickers. It's just $10, includes the shipping. Go to WFOradio.com, PayPal. But if you are international, we cannot ship out there just yet. And you need the face coverings. I did want to share that story. Got a WFO radio listener over the Christmas break, got together with the fam, and, now have a positive test or two, which is related to what I'm about to say. You want to fix the sport of drag racing? Here's what we need to do. We, as in drag racers and citizens of America and citizens of Earth, we need to get beyond this period of pandemic that we're dealing with. If you, like I, want to be in a crowd, at a race, walking through a packed pit, if you want to go to a football or baseball game, say at, the Hard Rock Stadium down the street to watch the Dolphins play in the 2021-2022 season, or Yankee Stadium like I would normally do, there is only one road. There's only one road. Right now, one mag, two mags, one engine, two engine, 1,000-foot quarter mile, none of that even matters. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how to get back to where we were in 2019. That is the goal. Those guys were having a great time. That was the definition of success. We can definitely get beyond that, but we got to get there first. How do we do it? There's only one road, and the road is get past the pandemic. And that means when it's your time to get the vaccine, you get it, as I will whenever they tell me I'm allowed. Number two, do everything in your power to avoid transmitting the virus. I'm not saying don't get it. I'm saying don't transmit it. Getting it, everyone's trying to not get it. You can only control that so much. Transmitting it, that is what you can control. Like our listener who is now in personal lockdown and not going out, not going to meet his friends, not going to do something he really wants to do. Taking a personal responsibility to not spread it around. That is the difference. And the reason I'm a little fired up about it, if you listen to the Ignition show, is when we got the news that our listener and great friend and family have kind of dealing with the situation now. But also a lot of breaking news about here in vacation country, South Florida, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people coming in from out of town to party and celebrate and not really taking any of it seriously at all. And when I see that, I say to myself, what does this do to my dream of being in a packed Nitro Alley with thousands of fans all around me, loving what I'm experiencing? Like, what does that do? It only delays it. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot. So you either, the air raid is coming. Everyone has been complimenting my analogy, so I'm going to go with it again. I put out a lot of analogies. This is one that is significant. It's wartime. There's an enemy. There's bombing raids every now and again. Think of Germany and Britain in World War II. Think about the West Coast of California, the United States in World War II. Go watch Midway. Great movie. Go watch it. And imagine the air raid sirens come on and they tell you to turn out the lights and somebody says, no, you can't tell me to turn out my lights. I'm reading Snake's book and I want to do what I want to do right now. And I don't care. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. We are in a critical time. If we want to get back to what we want to do, the way we want to do it, we can get there. We got to do the right thing now. It's most critical time. Actually, a month or two ago. But you got to start at some point. All right, there it is. I fixed drag racing. The biggest problem in the sport of drag racing, that's the solution. Everything else is minor compared to that. And if you just think things will just go back to normal without doing anything, maybe we should have been a little more forceful about this in April. Let's see what people say. Screw you, Joe. No, let's see. Kev wants to bring... Okay, let's go back to Mitchell here. Mitchell, keep them like they are. That's what I say. 1,000 foot, exactly what they have. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. That's what I want. And seeing what guys like Bobby and Dom Lagana have done with helping some of the smaller teams and the Capco team with selling their parts and making the parts affordable for some of the smaller teams. Programs like that, expand them. Get more people involved. Make the product more worthwhile by putting it on Fox Big Network and showing it on TV, which they are, and that's happening. So that's all happening. Let's see. Kev says, add turbos and nitro. No turbos. Turbos equal quiet. Do not want that. Gary says, smile of it all. This guy, Flying Ace Arizona, gives me the big thumbs up. Mitchell, I think the NHRA needs to look into other ways to increase winnings for each class. I don't think changing the car will help. Well, exactly. Changing the car costs money. Don't do anything that costs more money and try to find new money to give the people that are already competing. Exactly. Like, money in versus money out to make it more worthwhile. Like, read Snake's book. It's important. Not just because it's available in the WFO store, but because it shows you the way it evolved. And, you got to have more money coming in than you have going out. You cannot just expect people to do it just because, like, they'll do some things for the love. They will. But ultimately, it's got to make sense because there's a lot of fun things to do out there in the world. Chasing sponsors for 2021, Supercomp Door Car. Let's go racing. Jeff, exactly. Wait a second, Jeff. I thought you were trying to get your Pro Stock license, brother. I thought you were trying to get your Pro Stock license. Let's make that happen. Let's see. Rodax, great stuff. Sam, what's up? What's up? What's up, Sam? How you doing? Johnny, John Andretti. Well, exactly. Like, there is a place. I'm not going to lean on him too hard because, you'd oversell the deal. You chase him away. Don't want to do that. Dang, I'm super late. Monica had something that she put it up the other day that I had interest in about a movie or something she was watching. And I remember I was going to call her out on the movie. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's right. She was talking about how great Fast Times was. And I agree. Fast Times is great. The first 2/3 of the movie. Really, right after the swimming pool scene, it kind of all went south. And what they did to Damone. Here's Damone. He's this cool guy. He's helping Rat. He gives the 5 things, wherever you go, act like it's the place to be. Isn't this great? He brings the guy his wallet and then turns to a total D at the end. Why'd they do that to Damone? Jim says Haas Automation, Top Fuel, or Schumacher Racing with Tony. Don't go there. Let's not chase anybody away. Let's let it go. McNeil Freeman, my bud. What's up, McNeil? Happy New Year, my man. One of the happiest people on the planet is McNeil Freeman. Happy 2021, everyone. Yes, happy 2021. It says Tony Stewart. This is Tony Stewart, not Shoemaker. It's okay. You don't have to update. Randy Tarhark. I think that's Randy. Does Tarhark? I don't know. Well, he's spelling his own name. Good stuff, Joe. Thank you. He's got a tractor like Brian Loans and Allen. Can't wait to get on a plane and travel to the USA again, hopefully for the final NHRA event on 2021. Obviously. Yes. That don't, like, I'm cheerleading a little bit, and I apologize. I never bring this in, but this is health now. This is health. Don't get down and assume that negativity is the only way forever. No, there is a road out. I was reading something about the, like smallpox and polio and all of these things. Like, how did they get those vaccines out and what happened afterwards? Like, at one point in our history, people were worried about getting polio. Like, oh my gosh, is my kid going to get polio? Oh, it would be so terrible. What would happen? And then like the Spartans, will have to discard him. And fortunately, we got beyond that. Like, yes, there was, the tough people who didn't get polio advanced and they were able to go on and have fun with their lives. But it was better that we came up with a vaccine so that people who happen to be susceptible to polio could avoid it. The idea of just like seeing the strong just survive. And if you get the virus, tough stuff. And that's been pretty prevalent out there. Craig Garland. What's up, buddy? Happy New Year to my man. Craig Garland was posting pictures the other day, him and Jason Logan. Man, I miss you, Craig. Hopefully you're doing well. Wish people would just listen and cooperate. No, man, they want to read their book while the bombing raid is happening, Monica. They want to read their book, man. That's it. I'm doing me. I'm reading my book. And yeah, if my light in my house causes our neighborhood and civilization to get blown up, well, this is me we're talking about. I want to do what I want to do. And I do. Don't think like, you think I want to wear a mask? Do you think I want to do any of that stuff? Heck no. Heck no. But ultimately, I want to know this is the road to get me to where I want to do. Well said. Happy New Year from the Maple Grove area. Speaking of places I want to get back to, my snake book is lost somewhere in the mail. Sigh. You'll get it. You'll get it. Everything was kind of slow during the holiday season. It's great. Snake did a great job. Actually, I'm full of regret. Full of regret about my interview with Snake because it was very generic because he was having audio issues. The post-book interviews, not just for Snake, but for everybody else, like Snake uncorks a lot of stuff here, folks, and it inevitably leads to the follow-up questions. Like, oh, you had a fight with Billy Meyer? Fisticuffs. Don't want to tell you about. Like, I don't want to. Spoiler alert. Yes, still on that hunt. Pro Stock Dreams. Go get it, man. Go get it. Is this a new time for 2021? No, it's not. Alan Reinhart had something to do. Did Andretti run all 3 Indies? That stat is not in my head. But I think Brickyard, Indy 500, U.S. Nationals. Is that what you mean? Yeah, I think anecdotally, I would say yes. Ricky, have you worked on your Firebird yet? No, but I worked on the golf cart and got the golf cart out of the way. So now the golf cart moves. So step 1 complete. Hey, it's me, brother. Randy Tarhark. This guy used to whoop my butt left and right at Miami Hollywood Speedway and Moroso Motorsports Park. Had like a 1970 Chevelle. Sportsman Eliminator is like 13 flat and up. I'm in my dad's pickup truck. Thing runs like 1809, 1810 bracket race. And this guy's got like 1320s, 1310, fast car and fast, consistent car. And, I get my licks in, but I think if we raced 10 times, which we probably raced 20 times, he probably has, 65%. Good racer. Welcome back, Randy. How you doing? Thanks for finding me. Let's see. Ronnie, glad to have Ego back. No more breaks. I don't know what that means, but I agree. No more breaks. Let's see. My 70 Bronco might have to fund it. Pro Stock Dreams. Ooh, selling. Does anybody want to buy Jeff's 70 Bronco so we can get his Pro Stock license? Let's see. Greg, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year, everyone. Let's see. Just get a smart car. No. And on that note, we're going to end because no smart car. I'm against it. WFO, says Ronnie. Thank you very much for listening and watching. The WFO radio show is a podcast primarily. We do have live interaction here on Facebook and YouTube and our page. If you haven't liked our page or invited people, like how about at the start of the year, inviting people to like our page? Yeah, but Joe, you got all preachy about the masks. Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is the final show of the week because I'm traveling to the Engine Performance Expo. I will be traveling up there. I will be wearing a scuba suit. It will be great. And you're going to learn a lot. So definitely register, sign up, and learn or just enjoy. Because these engine guys, there's a lot going on. Smart people. And at the end of every Hidden Horsepower episode, I always ask for some advice. And some of the common advice is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are. Or, like Tony Schumacher often says, like look around at your friends. Like look at them. And secretly judge them and say, like, are these guys good guys? They doing all that they can be doing? And if you've got, if the answer is no, you need to try to surround yourself with better people. That's what every one of these engine people says. Like, be the dumbest guy in your crew. Be around smarter people than you. And I think that's great advice. And so I'm going to go to the Engine Performance Expo and I'm going to be the dumbest guy in the bunch. Trying so desperately to learn as much as is possible about everything that is possible. I want to say a big happy birthday to Stubo, one of our WFO radio listeners, Super Gas crew chief, one of our great listeners. Happy birthday to everyone who's birthday. Race Guitar had a birthday also. Thank you to all you listeners out there. Final comments coming in. Safe travels. Sammy. Got to hear Sammy sing again. Mitchell. Thank you, guys. And to Alan Reinhart, really appreciate it. We wanted to do an hour early, and look, we're an hour early. For those of you that missed the show, you're just logging on. Don't worry. It'll be available very, very soon. 2021 WFO. What does it all mean? I tell you what, the Patreons got their Monday motivation show. We set some New Year's resolutions that I'm going to try to live up to, one of which is getting my race car going and on track. That's one of my New Year's resolutions. 2 is continuing on the road to better health and fitness, trying to feel better, lose some LBs. Want to join me? The WFO Radio Fitness Club. Check us out on Patreon. And that's all I got. So have a great day. Final show of the week. Archive loaded. Best of content all ready for you. So check out the social media, Twitter, Facebook, our Facebook group. Everyone's loving the group. It's good stuff. And we'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio.